Good Saturday morning. How is everybody? It is actually a really beautiful day today in New Jersey. It's very cold, but it's really gorgeous out. And yes, I'm wearing my new set. See, I'm wearing the earrings and the brooch. I'm put on some makeup for you guys, even though it seems like this red lipstick is really, really kind of orangey. Maybe it's just the lighting. So I've recently bought a bunch of retro patterns. And I've been planning on doing a video about them. And then I got more of the patterns, the last amount of the patterns that I bought. Some I bought from Amazon and some I bought directly from Butterick's website, which is called like something delightful. It's got a really strange name, and it's Butterick, McCall's, Vogue, might be Berta. Anyway, it's like not just one pattern company, it's like three of the big four. And I also bought some from Amazon, as I said. So I wanted to come on and show you the patterns I bought. And the funny thing is this morning, Stephanie Canada, who by the way, I absolutely adore. Please go watch her videos. She's great. She's a vintage pattern sewer. I really love her videos. I really love her input. She's so knowledgeable about patterns, much more than I am. But she did a rant about how much she hates this one particular simplicity reproduction pattern, and she does say, and I'm not going at her. She does say, this is her opinion. This is the way she feels. She understands that some people really like retro patterns, and you know what? Honestly, she has another video where she talks about why she doesn't like retro patterns, and I agree with her like 99% on the majority of the points she makes. That squeaky noise is my dog, who apparently needs attention right now, but didn't need it for the last hour when I was sitting on the couch doing nothing. Hi, bud. You want to be in the film? Come here. Come here. You want to be on camera? There you are. Stick your, we can't see your little head. There he is. There's his nose. All right, he's shy. Okay. All right, I got to do stuff, okay? You go play with your toy. Okay, anyway, so this will be a long video now. Anyway, but the reason I like to buy retro patterns, and again, this is just my opinion, and I'm not trying to like start a beef with Stephanie. I like her. I love watching her videos. I think she's hysterical. The reason I like reproduction patterns are two, really three reasons. And she talks about these a little bit in her videos. And so this is like the 1% where we might kind of disagree. I don't know if we even really disagree. I like retro patterns because vintage patterns are notoriously small. Because back in those days, a size 12 was a 34-inch bust. Because of vanity sizing, most people are like, a size 12? A size 12 is pretty big. Like if you're 16, you could totally, size up to a 16 from a 12 if you bought a vintage pattern. The problem is in a vintage pattern, actually even in a modern pattern, I'm a 24. I have a 35-inch bust. I'm sorry, a 45-inch bust. So when you give me a pattern that has a 34-inch bust, I need to take that bodice and add 5.5 inches on either side to get an even draft. And I'm sorry, but I have multiple learning disabled, and I have dyslexia. My little dyslexic squirrel brain cannot figure out how to add 5.5 inches on either side of a bodice. So that's out of the picture for me. She does bring up a point which I totally agree with, and here's kind of why I agree with her. If you look at old vintage patterns, even patterns that I was using in the 80s that were from the 70s, the directions were incredible. Like they were concise, they weren't wordy. Newer patterns to me seem to be very wordy, and and they're weird. I've never understood exactly how they figure out the order of modern patterns, because I don't necessarily know that I would do things in this order. I was trained by my mom and then also took a sewing class. Yeah, that's how much of a nerd I am. I took home economics, which was everybody had to take, and then they offered a just sewing class that I took, and you had to go at night because I was a geek in high school. But I took that class. So, you didn't get credit for it, and I think my parents had to pay like $15 for it or something. It was like, but I took it at night because I was a geek who liked to sew her own clothes. If cosplay had been around, I would have been full frontal cosplay. I would have been wearing like costumes to school. Seriously. I would have loved cosplay back in the day, but I digress. Anyway, vintage patterns were not wordy. They were made for people that knew how to sew. They were very concise, but you knew exactly what they were asking you to do. And the order seemed to make, to me, better sense. Newer patterns, like when I look at them, first of all, they're written in a way that they're kind of sound dumb. They're like stay stitching, and then they have like, they go see example blah of stay stitching. I'm like, dude, I know what a stay stitch is. Like, they're more wordy, but at the same time, much more confusing. And I wouldn't probably follow the same order that most of them are in. In fact, I normally don't. One of the reasons when I look at reproduction, one of the reasons I have problems, like I had problems with that gray skirt, is because I never followed the damn instructions. Like, the name of my autobiography would be "I'm the reason I can't have nice things," because that's the way I am. But I never followed the directions, because the way I learned to sew from two very good home sewers, my mother and my aunt, and then a home economics teacher who sewed all of her own clothes, not to mention my grandmother was a freaking union seamstress. She used to work for Evan Bacone. I mean, people in my family know how to sew. And I'm going to explain this. I don't know if anybody else has ever heard of this, but this is the way I was taught. The way I was taught was you started with what they used to call tailoring. So you did all your darts, your interfacings, anything that was small and complicated and really needed to be done before you put the larger pieces together. You did those first. Then you did the large pieces. So let me give you an example. A basic sheath dress that had like maybe darts on the top under the bust and darts going into the skirt. I would do the darts first. I'd do the neck interfacing first, and then I would sew the whole dress together. Then you did what they called finishing sewing, which I don't even know if these terms are real terms or just like terms my family made up. So the finishing sewing was buttons, snaps, zippers, hems. Then you did your finishing sewing. That would also include any top stitching, but quite honestly, on several occasions, especially with like a neck interfacing, I did the top stitching of the neck interfacing before I even joined the shoulder pieces together. Like I did each of them, and then I matched the top stitching when I did the shoulders. Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm speaking a foreign language and not well. No mas bueno. But anyway, so that's the way I learned to sew. So for me, vintage reproduction patterns, they do have very, very confusing directions. But even modern patterns, I don't follow the directions. So that's kind of my piece. And like I said, I'm not coming for Stephanie. I think she's great, and I totally agree with what she's saying. Except that I don't want to size up a pattern by 10 inches because it's cool and vintage. Because the patterns were one piece, and then every woman knew her measurements, and she just kind of sized up from there. But when the average woman had a 34-inch bust, that was a lot easier, And I do know there are plus-size patterns that are vintage. I've seen them, but they're extremely rare. I wish I had my grandmother's because, actually, my grandmother just drafted her own pattern. She would look at an outfit, and my mom would go, "Oh, that's so pretty," and my grandmother would say, "I can make that for you." And my grandmother would go home with, by the way, garbage bags, like paper sacks and newspaper, and draft a pattern. My mother told me about this on more than one occasion, how crazy it was to watch how creative she was, which is why she ended up working for people like Evan Bacone, and she was a union seamstress, part of the union label, the whole thing. So anyway, let me show you the patterns I got. So I'm going to start with the one that Stephanie actually showed in her video that she hated. Can you guys see this? Okay, I really like this. When I was a chef, I used to fold the pinafore apron over and wrap it around my waist. A lot of chefs do this. So I decided to make myself like a cute one for around the house. So that was that. This, which I think I talked about already, I'm thinking about making, remember the Christmas fabric that I found in the vintage sewing machine? I'm thinking about making this shirt out of that. By the way, the poor vintage sewing machine, I haven't taken it yet because the place in my town that used to repair sewing machines has closed permanently because of COVID. So I now have to take it about 30 miles away to get fixed, and I got to call this guy, make sure he's open, see if I have to have an appointment, what, yada, yada, yada. All right, so, and then I got a Vogue pattern. which the funny thing is she actually likes the Vogue pattern. She said the Vogues are better researched, and I love this dress. So, and all 3 of these I got from Amazon. Now, these patterns, we're going to start with McCall's. These patterns I got off of the Something Delightful website, which is Butterick's. By the way, she hates butter. Butterick's website. And they were having, this one I actually love. They were having this sale where they were selling some of the patterns for $2.99 and the Vogue for $4.99. So I got those Butterick's and those McCall's, and then I got 3 Vogue patterns. I got this one, which I love. Looks super hard, for $4.99. This one, which I've never tried making hats, so I figured why not. And then this one, which I consider a score, for $4.99. This Vogue one. I've never made a coat, and this coat is so beautiful. Getting a Vogue pattern for $4.99 is a steal anyway, but getting a Vogue reproduction coat pattern for $4.99, this thing retails for like 30 bucks. It was a steal, right? So I went on the website, and unfortunately I did not have time to come on and tell you guys about the deal they were doing before they ended it. I was on there the other day, and lo and behold, they're not doing it anymore. So why these patterns, I don't know, but you can still actually go into their like clearance section, and they have some patterns they're getting rid of. So you might try your luck, but I just wanted to show you guys my big pattern haul. And I haven't gotten my red box vintage box yet, but when I do, I will do a red box unboxing. And I'm adding a bonus recipe down below in the show notes. I made grain-free granola this morning, and it was delicious. I kind of based it on somebody else's recipe, but I changed the ingredients because I didn't like theirs. So I'm adding a bonus recipe. And everybody have a good day. Let's hang in there. Let's try and stay positive with all this insanity. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Please like, subscribe, and comment.